Is this some kind of joke? What do you hope to achieve with this? Why not enjoy sleeping outdoors? From the phone, I could hear my mother-in-law Kathy's mocking voice. How could she drag her grandson into such a mess? I sighed inwardly. Fine, we'd just go home. But Kathy was about to face an ordeal she never expected. My name is Meg. I'm 37 years old and work at a very ordinary company. Tom, my husband, and I have been married for 12 years now. Time flies. I first met Tom in our university club. We used to hang out a lot, but we were just friends and never dated. After graduation, we reunited at a club gathering. From there, we started talking more often and eventually began dating. About a year later, Tom suddenly asked me with a serious face, "Will you marry me?" I'll never forget his expression at that moment. So we got married, and soon after, our lovely son Mike was born. Mike is an active and a bit mischievous boy, but he's genuinely good-hearted. He excels at school and is especially passionate about baseball. He's been playing on a local youth baseball team since he was young, swinging his bat every day, rain or shine. Thanks to Mike's performance, his team often wins, and everyone says he's amazing. Tom and I always cheer for him at his games, clapping and shouting, "Hey, Mom and Dad, did you see today's game? How was it?" Of course, we wouldn't miss it. That home run was incredible. The game shifted the moment you hit it. Thanks. Look forward to even more impressive plays, Mike says with a grin. Then he heads to the yard to practice swings after dinner. His dedication is truly inspiring. He's always been committed, even when he was in the swimming club before baseball, practicing tirelessly despite his struggles. I hold a somewhat senior position at my company and try to embrace the same attitude of perseverance that Mike displays. When times get tough at work, I draw strength from his determination. Despite these daily joys, there's been a lingering concern in our household, Kathy. She seems to have had a grudge against me ever since we got married. Her attitude towards me has been harsh. Meg, why are you resting there? Usually, a daughter-in-law helps her mother-in-law when she's busy, right? Kathy snapped one day. I was caught off guard because my father-in-law Jason had just offered me dessert at the dining table, and I was having a leisurely chat with Tom. Kathy seemed irritated regardless. When I went to the kitchen, she gave me a stern look and muttered complaints. How can you act so thoughtlessly? Was this how you were raised? If your parents were like that, I'd understand. I was taken aback. Kathy knew nothing about my family, and her casual remarks were shocking. I'd never encountered someone who could speak so bluntly before. Since the pre-wedding meeting, Kathy's attitude had been tough, making it difficult to get along with her. As a result, I limited my visits to her house. However, after Mike was born, we began visiting more frequently for the sake of my in-laws, who couldn't wait to see their grandson's adorable smile. Kathy would dote on Mike but consistently direct prickly remarks at me. One day, with a sly smile, she told me if Mike does something wrong, it's all because of your upbringing. She continued to question my parenting, saying things like, "I'm worried with a mother like you," and "Are you disciplining him properly?" The most shocking comment was, "I'd like to raise him myself," as if I was incapable of raising my own child. Her words cut deeply. Strangely, Kathy only made these comments when Tom and Jason weren't around. My silence seemed to irritate her further. "Aren't you listening?" she'd demand. I'd think, who's the faultless one here? When Tom or Jason returned, Kathy would instantly change her demeanor, praising how cute her grandson was. Visiting my in-laws always meant facing her subtle bullying. But despite everything, after Mike was born, I found a way to cope. I felt stronger as I focused on Mike's milestones, my work, and daily events. These occupied my mind, leaving little room for Kathy's words. Her remarks seemed like fleeting dust, easily blown away. She misinterpreted my silence as agreement, but I simply didn't want to waste energy on her. Occasionally, her comments irritated me, but it was easier to ignore her when she was under a misapprehension. Jason, Tom, and Mike were always on my side. Over time, I'd even thought that these events might eventually become fond memories. 12 years had passed since our marriage, and our visits to the in-laws continued, with Kathy's jabs becoming a part of the routine. I wondered if this was just how in-law relationships typically went. One day, as I was brushing off another of Kathy's remarks, Mike stepped in with serious eyes. He finally voiced what had probably been bothering him for a long time. "Grandma, why do you always speak to Mom like that?" Kathy was caught off guard. She stammered, "Mike, what are you talking about? I haven't." "Don't play dumb. Mike interrupted. I've heard you. Stop bullying Mom behind my back. Can't you be kind? I'm starting to dislike that side of you. He looked as if he'd gathered a lot of courage to say this. All he wanted from his grandmother was a bit of kindness. Kathy looked puzzled for a moment, as if she couldn't grasp what had been said. She seemed surprised by her grandson's words, but after a while, a hint of anger appeared on her face. Mike, where did you learn to talk like that? Isn't it rude to interrupt adults when they're talking? This is a conversation between Grandma and Mom. Meg, you need to educate him properly. Look at Mike's attitude. It's problematic. How could he have grown up without learning to choose his words carefully? I was secretly moved by Mike's bravery and courage. His strength had been evident since he was a child, and I was proud that it hadn't changed. Mike, thank you, I said, feeling a surge of emotion. But I'm okay. Please wait a little further away, all right? I got it, Grandma. My mom is kind, Mike said, and I was deeply grateful for his defense. Kathy's words no longer held any weight for me, but I didn't want Mike to face any further hostility. At that moment, Tom, summoned by Mike, appeared with a concerned expression. What's going on? Why is everyone so tense? Kathy, slightly startled by Tom's arrival, replied weakly, Oh, it's nothing. I was just talking with Meg. Anyway, I'll make some dessert. She hurriedly retreated to the kitchen. After Kathy left the room, Tom turned to me, asking, Are you okay? Mike spoke up suddenly. Mom is being bullied by Grandma. I rushed to explain, trying to avoid going into too much detail, but realizing Tom would worry if I didn't come clean. I shared how Kathy's harsh remarks had tormented me since we got married and revealed that I had secretly recorded some of her verbal attacks over the years. Tom was visibly shocked upon hearing the samples of the verbal abuse I had endured. Why didn't you tell me sooner? He asked, his voice filled with regret. I'm sorry I didn't realize this was happening. I'm truly sorry for not standing by your side. It's okay, I reassured him. After Mike was born, I was so occupied with daily child rearing and housework that I hardly thought about Kathy. You've done really well in such circumstances. Thank you, I added. I've been enjoying watching Mike grow up and haven't been concerned about the bullying much since becoming a mother. I never realized how strong you've become, Tom said, looking at me with admiration. No matter what happens, you can still smile. Oh, stop saying things like that, I replied, laughing lightly. We reminisce about the past with fondness. Having Tom and Mike by my side made the sting of Kathy's words seem less significant. However, a significant event was about to further test my relationship with Kathy. When Jason decided to retire, Tom and I planned a special surprise to celebrate. We wanted to give him something memorable and thought, how about a trip abroad? After discussing it, we decided on a family trip to Conan. Jason's eyes lit up at the suggestion and he proposed, since we have the opportunity, let's all go together. So it was settled. Our family of 3, along with my in-laws, would travel to Conan. It would be the first time for both families to travel abroad. Tom was a bit concerned and asked, considering my mother is coming too, are you sure it will be okay? I reassured him, saying, if we manage our time well and do activities separately when needed, it will be fine. We'll have a fun trip. In reality, I hope to spend minimal time alone with Kathy and, above all, to ride the positive vibe of the trip to create good memories. I was taken aback by Kathy's enthusiasm while planning the trip. She was incredibly excited, pulling out brochures and constantly suggesting places to visit. I questioned whether it was appropriate for her to make so many decisions about a trip that was meant to celebrate Jason. Jason, the true guest of honor, was genuinely kind and smiled at his wife's enthusiasm, doing his best to accommodate her wishes. Seeing his supportive attitude, I decided to respect his feelings as well. On the day of the trip, we woke up early, filled with anticipation, and headed to my in-laws' house. Good morning, Dad and Mom. Please get in the car, I said cheerfully. Jason responded with a big smile. Thank you for today. I've been really looking forward to this. Grandpa, let's sing a song together on the way. Mike invited enthusiastically, and Jason eagerly agreed. I quickly took a seat on the opposite side of Mike, and the 3 of us settled into the back seat. Kathy gracefully occupied the front passenger seat, while Tom took the wheel, ready to drive safely. The seating arrangement seemed ideal for a comfortable ride to the airport. The journey was smooth with no traffic congestion. We chatted, sang, and soon arrived at the airport with some time to spare. We decided to explore the airport, which had many shops and an observation deck. Mike, who loves watching airplanes, enjoyed the view from the deck. Feeling hungry, Mike said, "I'm hungry," so we went to a small cafe for a light meal. Later, we browsed through a souvenir shop, and my in-laws appeared to enjoy examining various items. As our flight time approached, we began making our way to the gate. On the way, Kathy suggested, "Meg, do you want to take a break? I'll watch the luggage. Why don't you go to the restroom?" It seemed like a good idea, so I asked Kathy to keep an eye on our bags and took Mike, who said, "Mom, I want to go too, to the restroom." To our surprise, the restroom was crowded, with even the men's room having a line. The unexpected situation made me laugh. Kathy, upon hearing about the crowd, quickly offered, "I'll watch the bags, so you guys can go too." Tom and Jason decided to head to the restroom as well. It seemed Kathy had already used the restroom and was willing to wait for us. After using the restroom, Mike and I returned to where we had left Kathy, but despite searching, we couldn't find her or anyone else. I felt a wave of panic as I tried calling Tom, but my calls went unanswered. I was bewildered. Had they already gone to the boarding gate? The absence of our luggage only added to my confusion. Was it stolen? I didn't know what to do and felt a surge of anxiety. Just then, I received a call from Kathy. "Hello," I answered. Kathy's voice came through with an unsettling cheerfulness. "Where are you?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Kathy laughed and said, "There's no need to tell you, Meg. I just want to enjoy myself with my husband and son. You two are just in the way." I was stunned. Wait a minute, this has to be a joke, right? My voice shook with confusion and growing anger. "Your luggage?" Kathy said casually. "Oh, I think I threw it somewhere." Her tone was flippant. Panicking, I glanced around and spotted our luggage hidden under a chair nearby. Is this some kind of joke? What are you trying to achieve with this? My anxiety shifted to frustration. "Oh, calm down," Kathy said dismissively. "I've made sure your wallets and passports are safe. How about spending the night on the streets for fun?" She laughed heartily. "Where's my husband?" I demanded. "Tom would never allow this." "Mike couldn't wait to get on the plane, so he went to the boarding gate with you first," Kathy replied, as if it were a game. "That's why I had to make you rush and sit apart. I thought he'll notice right away." Her voice conveyed an unsettling sense of enjoyment. Fury and shock overwhelmed me. I couldn't believe Kathy would go so far, especially involving her grandson. "We're going home now," I said, my voice heavy with defeat. "Sounds good," Kathy said cheerfully. "I'll pick out some souvenirs for you, of course, on your credit card." With that, she hung up, clearly believing she had the upper hand. I never thought it would come to this, but I knew she'd get her comeuppance soon. After hanging up, my phone vibrated with a WhatsApp message from Tom. "Are you okay? I can't see our seats from here." I quickly explained the situation. Kathy had tricked us, and now we couldn't board the plane. Tom responded immediately, seriously. "What happened?" I provided more details, and he seemed genuinely flustered. "I can't believe this, but okay, I'll come down right away," Tom said, his voice a mix of disbelief and determination. I quickly formulated a plan to handle the situation and tried to calm him down. "Let her think she succeeded for now, but I need a favor," I explained. Tom agreed and decided to head to Canaan with Kathy for the time being. In the meantime, I went to the police to report my wallet as stolen and called the credit card company to temporarily suspend it. We needed to protect ourselves from any potential harm. Once that was settled, Mike and I decided to head home and make the best of the situation. We planned to enjoy our next trip even more, although I never imagined our trip to Canaan would turn out like this. Despite the unexpected turn of events, there was a silver lining. The time spent with Mike turned out to be special. We adjusted our plans and decided to stay at a resort hotel. The view from our room and the delicious food became the highlights of our unexpected vacation. Mike, clearly delighted, even offered me a bite of his food with a bright smile. "Mom, this is delicious," he exclaimed, his grin reassuring me that we had made the right decision. We also enjoyed a lovely barbecue at my parents' place. The aroma of grilled meat and the warmth of family made it feel like a true vacation. 3 days later, my husband and father-in-law returned, looking genuinely remorseful for Kathy's actions. "I can't believe what my wife did. It's inexcusable," Jason confessed. "Meg, I'm so sorry. I should have been more careful." Though they tried to apologize, Mike and I had moved past our initial anger. I was curious about their trip, so I asked. Tom laughed and shared that it had been a huge success. It turned out they had executed the revenge plan I had conceived. After directing Kathy to a luxury hotel, they went elsewhere, leaving her to fend for herself. Kathy arrived at the hotel, only to discover that I had canceled our reservation. Tom and Jason ignored all of Kathy's attempts to reach them and thoroughly enjoyed their time in Conan. When Mike asked excitedly if it had been fun with Grandpa, Tom smiled and replied, "Yes, but next time, let's all go together." He then filled me in on Kathy's series of misadventures. Mom kept sending frantic messages, Tom said with a sigh. Apparently, she had to stay at a cheap inn and barely got any sleep. She was counting on your credit card and the money from me and my father, but it turns out she hardly had any cash on her. She hasn't had a proper meal since the one we shared on the first day. She's been both physically and mentally worn out. Hearing about Kathy's predicament gave me a sense of relief. When Kathy finally arrived, she looked utterly drained and confused. "What have you done to me?" she exclaimed, her disheveled hair and bloodshot eyes clearly showing her distress. No one in the house sympathized with her. "You brought this upon yourself," we told her. "I heard from Meg about how you've mistreated her for 12 years. Kathy tried to defend herself, but Tom cut in. "Meg recorded everything. I was shocked when I heard the recordings. I had no idea you had said such things to Meg. You always acted kind to us on the surface, but behind our backs, you were doing this." And then the incident in Conan, leaving Meg and Mike like that and even stealing the wallet. "What were you thinking? This is clearly a crime," Kathy protested. "Wait a minute. I just wanted to have a good time with the family. Meg and Mike are family too." Tom's voice grew cold. "I'm done with you as a family member. I'm considering a divorce. I never imagined you'd do something like this. You've been deceiving us for so long. I can't forgive you for hurting our precious family. I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore." Kathy, ruthlessly berated by her husband and son, looked down, her face pale and shocked. She kept apologizing afterward, but the situation remained unchanged. "Meg, I'm truly sorry. I'll apologize as many times as needed. Please forgive me," Kathy said with a hint of desperation in her voice. I responded firmly, "Well, that's going to be a tall order for a lifetime because of your harassment as a mother-in-law. I went through a very tough period. I will be claiming compensation for that. Also, about taking my precious wallet without permission, I'll be reporting that to the police. And you should definitely pay the hotel cancellation fees." At my decisive words, Kathy's face turned even paler. Due to this incident, she suddenly found herself burdened with massive debt. Having been a housewife for many years, the only jobs she could find were minimum wage. Her relationship with her husband fell apart, and she started a new life alone in a modest apartment, working to pay off her debts. On the other hand, our family regained our peaceful days. The following year, we all planned and managed to go on an overseas trip together. Mike, experiencing foreign culture and scenery for the first time, was thrilled and enjoying himself. Seeing him happy warmed my heart and made me realize how important it is to cherish and love my precious family deeply.